In this video, we'll explore the alternative DNADynamo interface by looking at its shortcut buttons. If you prefer the older version, it's still accessible via the View menu under Original Interface. As you familiarize yourself with the layout, you'll find that hovering the mouse over Shortcut button reveals a brief description of its function. For example, hovering over the top left Shortcut button displays Display Sequence Search Bar. We'll search for occurrences of the sequence ATGG in both strands. Matches to the search are highlighted and can be annotated. Clearing the search bar's text removes the highlight from the sequence. Repressing the shortcut button reverses the action. The adjacent blue box button opens the sequence's annotation box. It's easy to create new annotations by selecting the relevant sequence and pressing the blue arrow shortcut above the selection. The new instant annotation is listed in the annotation box in the right panel. We can select it, and for example choose to copy, edit, transfer, or in this case, delete it. You can also interact with annotations directly on the sequence by invoking their pop-up menu. The next adjacent button allows quick navigation within the sequence to a listed annotation. Here we select MCS and the sequence view jumps to display the selected annotation. The RE button allows you to set the restriction enzyme box. For example, to use enzymes that produce blunt ends, we can select Common Blunts. You can create your own collections using the Edit Enzymes box option under the Restriction Enzymes menu. The adjacent buttons toggle the display of the minor strand sequence and base numbering on the sequence display, while the blue arrow button toggles the ORF display. The orange arrow button adds oligos from your master oligo box that match your sequence to the display. More details on this later. The Annotation Filter button allows you to selectively hide single or groups of annotations. This can be useful if, for example, you import a heavily annotated GenBank format file and want to hide a class of annotations without deleting them. The menu shortcut lists options for the minimap. You can change the size of the text, add a scale, change the layout, or hide the map. The orange box shortcut lists displayed oligos and oligos from your master oligo box that hit your sequence. You can show or hide specific oligos or select oligos to copy, edit in the oligo editor, or delete. You can select multiple oligos using standard control clicking. After selecting these two oligos, we'll press the PCR button to perform an in silico PCR. You can also interact with oligos directly on the display by invoking their pop-up menu. The PCR product is opened in a new window. We'll hide this window for now, and use it again in a minute. The multicolor shortcut button opens the Features box. The default Features box contains sequences commonly found in the Add Gene collection. A common use is to search your sequence and auto-annotate found features. You can also create custom features boxes containing your favorite features. The next three shortcuts refresh the display, capture the display, and save changes, respectively. If your sequence is circular, you can click the Circular Map shortcut button to display a circular map. The appearance of circular maps can be edited, and you can generate a printed report containing the map, the sequence, a list of annotations, and a list of restriction sites. Below the circular map button is the Align To button, which opens a sequence chooser window where you can select one or more sequences to align to the displayed sequence in reference mode. You can choose ABI Trace, FastQ, or other sequence files in your file system, but here we'll choose the already open PCR product sequence we generated earlier. The Assemble Sequences button opens the alignment editor. We can click on the alignment map to locate a section of the alignment, and see here the misaligned ends of the PCR product that contain an introduced restriction site. Back at the main sequence, the button below the Align To button opens a table of restriction site occurrence based on your currently selected enzyme box. You can use the Filter button to select, for example, sites that cut once within your sequence. You can also display the sites as a list, or in a list of graphic maps. Here, the sites are listed in order of their location, but alphabetical sorting is also possible. Now we'll filter to double cutters, and select an enzyme. Selecting enzymes here also adds them to the sequence display and linear restriction maps. But here we'll press the agarose gel shortcut, below the Align To button, to open a virtual agarose gel. We'll deselect the PCR product window as we don't want to add that sequence here. You can use the menu options to subsequently add additional lanes and change the restriction enzymes used in the digest. Below the agarose gel shortcut is the history shortcut. This sequence's history only contains one entry, as the sequence we have opened does not yet have a history of editing in DNADynamo. But as an illustration, we'll open the Features box, locate a red fluorescent protein, and drag it out of the box and onto the EGFP annotation such that the EGFP CDS is replaced with the red CDS. You might perform similar operations when designing a sequence for synthesis rather than using classic sub-cloning techniques. Now if we open the sequence's history, you can see how the current sequence is derived from its parent sequences. The shortcut buttons at the bottom of the sequence open linear maps. The first button opens a linear map of unique restriction sites based on the currently selected enzyme box. Its adjacent button maps oligo hits from your master oligo box, while the next shortcut displays an ORF map. The start-stop map gives a more fine-grained view of ORFs. Finally on this row, the protein shortcut gives you a translation of either the set analysis frame or a selected CDS annotation. Calculated properties of the translated sequence are displayed, such as molecular weight and extinction coefficient. Finally, we'll look at the bottom left-hand side corner shortcut, which opens the File Manager. You can use the File Manager to preview sequence files or search for specific files based on file name, sequence, or the presence of specific restriction sites. You can also select multiple files and use them to create an alignment, or export them in FASTA or GenBank format. The File Manager also previews ABI trace files and DNADynamo format alignment files. Now that we've looked at the shortcut buttons, we'll finish by taking a look at how you can interact with other elements of the displayed sequence. You can right-click displayed elements to bring up a context-dependent menu. For example, we can right-click this CDS annotation and select one letter code from its options menu. If you don't have a two-button mouse, you can also bring up the menu by clicking the menu icon that appears on the left-hand side of an object when you mouse over it. Earlier in this video we saw how you can create an instant annotation by selecting sequence and pressing the blue arrow shortcut. If you instead press the orange arrow shortcut, you create an instant oligo. When an instant oligo is first created, it is in editable mode. You can click within its sequence and either type bases directly or use its context-dependent menu to insert restriction sites or codons. Note that selected sequence has a direction. If you select sequence 3' to 5', an instant oligo will be in the reverse direction. That's pretty much it for this video. Please see our other videos for more details on DNADynamo functionality.